Alrighty, everybody, welcome back to Culz Interviews. I know we took a little break over summer, but we are back and we think you guys are going to enjoy the show. We're doing our first cryptid one in a while, and I'm guessing it probably won't just stay cryptids because I saw some other topics I want to talk about. But we are talking with Sir Bryan Bowden. Now, Bryan, I do want to ask, how did you get knighted? Because we have not talked to anybody that got knighted before, so that's super cool.
Okay, so I'm a part of a very old organization, and one of the appendant bodies is to become a Knights Templar. And it's really interesting because it's not just one. The Knights Templars are broken up into a large portion, different groups. And the ones that I was knighted in after going through what I had to go through with them, and they give you your title, my official title. I'm not going to tell you my middle name for real, but I'll tell you what they call me now in Florida. So my full title is Sir Knight Bryan M. Bowden, and the M stands for something, but because my ID got messed up with somebody else, they call me McLovin down there. So I've just kept it. But it's S.K. Bryan McLovin Bowden. But I'm not going to, I don't mention my middle name to anybody. And you have to be in the inner circle for that. But that's how I did it. Now, the group themselves, they dress up in chapeaus and they do some, allegory. It's I am a Freemason, so I'm not the Illuminati. Any male age, I depends on your state, used to be 21 or older. Some states are 18, can go join, and you're going to realize, like, these guys don't rule the world, but this is an appended body through that. But when I was knighted, I kind of take the approach of what the true Knights Templars were, like Jacques de Molay, who on Friday, that's why Friday the 13th, by the way, is a bad day. All the Knights Templars were rounded up and persecuted, and Jacques de Molay was actually roasted at a spit for 3 days alive. So that's why Friday the 13th is a problem. And all of that is a problem because the Knights Templars were sent out on a crusade to, kind of follow in Jesus's lineage and do the good things, get rid of the bad people and whatever. And, I kind of follow that. Do right by everybody, So that's what it is, and that's what I do. And it just came up, but I'm knighted, but it's not like by the Queen, I knight you some beef of loin, whatever. That's not it, because I'm American. I'm a 4th of July baby, and I am not giving up my American citizenship for nothing. So, but it's more in that, it's what's in your heart type of thing.
Okay. Yeah, no, Freemasons are super cool. When was that, Sam? We got to take part in the cornerstone ceremony at our library when they did that. So that was super cool.
I mean, it's really been interesting. I'm a real big history guy. I love history, love historical objects. I bet on stupid things. So I have documents from 1467, 1592, vellum, a lot of it signed by the Spanish and Portuguese. And with Freemasonry, it was like, ooh, what are these people? Now, my father's 2 uncles were both 33rd degree Freemasons. That's the highest you go. And I asked him about it, and he was like, oh, we don't talk about this. I'm like, why not? So it was something I was interested in. I have a friend that I met in school. His father was Freemason. They went, and I said, I'm doing this. And I went to do it. And, you have this super expectation of like, oh my God, whatever. And then it's not like that. It's interesting. There's a lot of esoterica that's really part of it, but most Freemasons don't go into it. And it's about knowledge and information, true astronomy, and alignment. Like, things have to be done in a certain way when stars are aligned in a certain way to to have a fortuitous outcome. And if you don't do that, you risk some issues. And there's certain ways of building. So a lot of the builders, people with the pyramids and all these buildings, they were all Freemasons because there is masonry involved in it. But as you go up the ladder and you get your 3 degrees that make you an official Freemason, um, it's also about getting better wages, and then you get knowledge. Um, but like you're thinking you're going to be like, and the secret of the universe is, and you get nothing. It's pancake. Like, are we having a pancake breakfast this week or spaghetti dinner? And we raise a lot of money for charities. We have the largest group around the world, giving like close to $6 to $10 million through appended bodies in total, of money for families that are going through cancer research or blindness or whatever. And we don't ask for anything in return. It's just charity is important. That's what, if you want to go back to, and it's not to be religious because I was born in a different religion, but it's what Jesus would have done. It's the right thing to do, type of thing. But like, there's a couple of people that go through the program and they think it's going to be something exciting, like, oh my God. And then they realize, like, what are we doing? We're paying the cable bill, and literally it's that. And then the camaraderie at downstairs, like when you're having cigars or drinks or whatever. But I would describe it as it's about as exciting as eventful as when Darth Vader took off his helmet and you're like, wait a minute, the short, fat guy is the problem in the universe. He's the one that's causing all the freaking problems here. He's bald and fat. Get out of here. Remember, I don't know if you remember, I don't know if I'm not like a huge Star Wars fan. I mean, but I was like, that's Darth Vader? Is he wearing platform shoes? I mean, he looks like a short, bold, it's like Costanza from like whatever, Jerry Seinfeld or whatever it is. It just didn't make, it wasn't like eventful. So, but there's some things we did some esoteric stuff where we talk about certain things and what you're supposed to get out of life and the meaning of life. And from that, and my previous studies with beginning of physics, like string theory before quantum, and also astronomy, I was going to become an astrophysicist at one point or a rocket scientist, one of the two. And I just didn't want to work for a university and have them own my shit. And like, no, I can't do that. But when you start learning about these things, it actually does help you in your investigations because there is a common thread I came up with. And I've come up with some protocols that I use and I've taught to other people that are really helpful in bringing, like if you're going on a ghost hunt, getting the ghosts to come or being alerted, like, hey, someone's here, cryptids, but be careful what you're calling in. Like, here, boy, a dogman comes in, throw the bone or something like that. But yeah, so that's what it is. If you really want to know more, it's not bad. I would just go to a lodge, hang out with some people, or if you know some people that are Freemasons, say, hey, I'm interested. Go hang out with them. You'll get a couple of free meals. You'll fill out a form. They do an investigation, make sure you're not a criminal or something, and you're just go through the process. You're gonna come back and go, I did it. Like, you're right. It wasn't, it's like, yeah. So, but there's so much BS online about this stuff. There's always like a couple of bad apples that screw anything. It's kind of like case in point when we were talking prior to we starting that you've met some people in the woods on a paranormal, like, and you want them to take it seriously because that intention is important. And some people just don't, and they ruin. There are a lot of things that will not come forward if you have someone going, show me your lights. I did I like to call it an active intelligent encounter, but I did a CE5 during COVID, and I brought my daughter with me. I've done a couple of them. The first one I did year prior to that, year prior to COVID, we had 130 people in this field in Pine Bush, New York, which is basically where Whitley Strieber had his country house, and he had the communion stuff there. It's like the hot spot of UFOs on the East Coast. And I was wiped out, but I was conducting it with my buddy Al. And little did I know the chief of police was there. And we're sitting on a couple of acres of land. It's dark. We can see the stars. We can see where the air traffic is. And we're just on the top of a hill near like a public park type of thing for the community. So there's a baseball field, soccer fields, whatever. And it's really quiet. And I'm calming people down from the day because there was a UFO festival. And we brought in a craft that was probably a couple of acres wide by a couple of acres. And I mean, everybody went nuts. And this huge crafts above your head. Even as a researcher, when it happens, you're like, holy crap. you know, like it's awe-inspiring. And I was communicating with it, and I said, to describe it, it was black, almost, I don't know if it was rounded or almost delta-ish, not like the black triangles, but something. It was gunmetal black, and you could see the difference in it. And in the center was this massive, like, dome with a bright white light, like an LED bright, where you can look at it and you're not going to get blinded. And it was illuminating the bottom ground, the people around it. You can see a hexagonal pattern like it's holding it in. And we asked it, can you go out to those mountains and do like angle turns? And it went out. It did a burst. It sped across really quick and did a 90-degree turn. Then came back down, and then it disappeared. And we're like, oh my God, this is great. We got it to come back. It appeared. We're like, thank you, thank you. Then it disappeared for a bit. And I said, can you please come back for a little bit? It came back and appeared, and people were signaling it. My partner was signaling it with a laser or in a light, three dots, two dashes, and it would blink, do the same thing. Kind of like Close Encounters of the Third Kind, that kind of thing, but without the music. And then at one point it disappeared, and everybody was like in awe. There were men, women, families. Later found out the chief of police, he won't talk to me at this point. So I'm waiting for him to retire so he can go, listen, it's not going to be on record. But, and the next day, the person in charge of, events in the town of Crawford, a friend of ours, Damani, called my buddy and goes, what the hell did you do? And he's like, what are you talking about? He goes, my phone's ringing off the hook. He goes, we brought in a UFO. And she's like, what? I'm like, yeah, we brought in a UFO. And then I did it a year later during COVID. I had 70 people there, same area, but in like a little bit more of a pavilion of that, those fields. And I brought my oldest daughter with me, and she was stoked for, I said, I'm going to do the presentation. Can you film? And we had a bunch of people there, and there was at one point on each side of us, like these things appeared. And the one on the right side was a dot, and it was vibrating a little bit, and then it split into two, and then it split into four. So it kind of had like a dot, like a diamond shape, and it would go in and it would go out. And they kind of wanted to come closer. Excuse me. But this one woman was so fucking obnoxious. Come on, E.T., whatever. They weren't coming in. And let me tell you something. Everybody that was there for this experience was about to lynch this woman. And it was like, you ruined this for everybody. And my daughter saw both of them. But why would you come in if you're like, okay, well, I'm not going to be here for you to mock me.
Yeah.
This is serious, and get the drunk woman out, and so that kind of ruined it. But for a little bit of time, my daughter was like, holy crap, that was awesome. It's always good when you do something. And if you have kids, they're like, Dad was so cool. She was talking to her mom about it, and she was really stoked. So it was good. It was a good time. It's always interesting. Like, how are you guys? Like, when you go on an investigation, you actually get contact with the ghost. You're like,
Yeah, it's almost like a drug is how I explain it. Because like once you get it, you're like, I want to do that again. Like that was,
yep.
You're learning more as you do it. Like it is. Once you get it, it's hard not to want to keep going out there and getting more.
Right. And then at that point, you try to recreate the thunder that brought the last one. And if you can recreate it, you're like, okay, there's a little bit more science to this. Not that we're scientists. I did study science. I was going to be a scientist. But I always try to recreate things. I also try to debunk things, too. like, what's that sound? I'm like, that's Grandpa Fred farting. That's what that sound And we've had some people on investigations. They were definitely gassing it up in the room, and you could hear them like, "What's that smell?" Like, "Oh my god, get out of the room!" Because we would eat beforehand, and I always used to tell people like, "Don't eat something that's going to screw with your stomach." Because the last thing you need to do is be in a house in like summer with the AC off because you don't want the sound or the air flowing through, and you got your buddy Scott in the corner just ripping them, and you're like, dude, this is so wrong. We've had that. It's like, this is, please stop.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, it's like a drug.
Mhm.
But I mean, you get something every time you guys go out,
No.
right?
We can go to the same location that we've got really good evidence, and then that next time, nothing. Dead as a doornail.
Well, that's yeah, and then you gotta, that's what I was trying to say. Like, you can go out 100 times,
Mhm.
and if you get three of them, three out of 100, you're lucky.
Yeah.
Some places are really, spirits will gravitate to you for your energy field, and you'll feel it. It's the same thing with Bigfoot and cryptids. Um, Bigfoot likes, he knows your energy, he or she, and they know who you are, and they know you're coming also probably well prior to you. When you make that decision, hey, we're going to go back to the woods, whatever. I believe that information is thrown into a giant collective like a cloud or the Akash record, and they somehow can tap into that knowledge, and they know you're coming. They can see your frequency because everybody has one, right? And the way you actually see it would be the aura. So that's how they would see it. I'm sometimes you can see auras on people, like, like wow, you got some silver sparking on you. I'm not really great with it at this point, but I have other things I can do, so I don't really need to rely on it. But I think they see your aura and your energy field, and they know, like, good people will have like the blues and the greens, and it will be nice and bright. And people that are just either ill or not good people, it'll be darker. Blacks and browns, kind of like a mood ring. And it's important to know that because when we used to go on investigations, we have a psychic. Her name is Cindy Bailey Dove. She's really good. She's in Arkansas. And let's say we were taking you two out, right? We're going to have her read you guys before you even come out. And if she feels that one of you is going through something or whatever she reads, and there's a problem, we're not going to let you come out with them because it's a danger, right? So you two go out and you got each other's backs, right? So you have to have the right mindset on an investigation, and you have to be like, everybody has to be serious. The intention has to be good, and you have to not have something wrong with you at the time that would cause a problem. And that could be like, I'm not feeling well. I'm tired. I just had a fight with my girlfriend or my wife. I've got suicidal thoughts. And all that stuff is seen in your armor, your aura, and that's a chink in it. And the problem with that on the ghost hunting side is some of these spirits go, oh, there's my opening, and they jump you. And like, Keegan, you're driving back with Sam. You're like, Sam's like smiling, like really weird. Like, what's wrong with you, dude? I'm like, I'm fine, but you're not fine. You actually have a hitchhiker, and then it becomes a problem, depending on the spirit. I don't mess with anything that's demonic. Matter of fact, I've told the guys in my group, if I tell you I'm not going in there, that's a real good indication you shouldn't either. But you guys may dabble in that stuff. I don't. I don't want to dabble in it. It's above my pay grade, dude.
We've definitely had some locations where I don't know if I'd call it demonic, but definitely some darker spirits, like to the point like it was a house call that we did, and we had done it like every weekend for like a month, and we had a couple new people, and so we're like, hey, we're gonna let you guys go in and experience it. Like they've been on ghost hunts with us before, so they're fine. They just haven't been to that house. And when we got back from like that, like alone time with them, they had all these EVPs, and it was like, "Go kill yourself!" Like it was just being so nasty at them.
I'm telling you that here's the weird thing, and people don't realize. I just had this discussion with some guys. Actually, I'm going to hook you up with a couple of my brothers. They have a show called Brothers of the Arcana. They do a
Okay.
lot of esoteric stuff, but one of the guys is a big time brother. He does paranormal stuff, and you know that's the problem. They know, and you may not have had it there, but you may have been like there's something on your mind, weighing on your mind, and you may have thought of killing yourself. The problem you have is in that ether between life and death. There's that no man's land where it's dark, and some people get stuck in that. And then, some people go into the light, they go to heaven, or they go to hell. And I believe in heaven and hell for the most part. I may think hell's a little bit different. But in that, once you transition over, past, present, and future happens all at the same time. And your dead relatives know what lottery numbers are coming out, what's going to happen to you, X, Y, and Z. And there's certain rules of engagement where they have, they can and cannot do certain things. Like you're not going to get someone going, Sam, it's Grandpa Bob. Play these numbers tomorrow, because they're not allowed to do that because you have a path you're supposed to go down. But they know it all, and they know what your mother's name is. They know everything. Like, is this Grandpa? And they know who your grandfather is, and they can mimic him. So that's where you get a problem. You
Mhm.
don't know who you're talking to. It gets a little bit scary. There's no ring camera for the dead.
Right. Yeah, no, I've had some experiences where it's weird where you see like a name over and over and over again. I don't know if you've had that. But like for us, we had one where we caught it on camera with this like thing coming by my hand by the EVP,
Right.
and I'm like, "What is your name?" And when it comes by, it says Lawrence, which is weird enough. My mom ended up getting a briefcase for us from a thrift store because obviously we're just starting out. We needed some stuff to put our equipment in, and she pulls out a certificate, and the name is Lawrence.
It very well could be his briefcase, and he's attached to it, and he recognizes it because they recognize it, right?
Hmm.
So, let's say you buy a house from somebody. Who is the owner? Did they die in it? Someone must have. And when you get into their house, if they're haunting it, they're like, "What the hell are you doing in my house?"
Right.
And I just did this in this apartment. I was born and raised basically up in New York. I don't live there anymore. I live in the state of Florida. But my buildings are notorious for multiple paranormal incidents and super haunted. My apartment's like Grand Central Station. I mean, I see things in it all the time. But we have an asshole labradoodle. Sorry, Australian labradoodle, but he isn't. Whatever. And he's a puppy, and he comes in, and he's been doing that, staring, and I'm like, "Who is it? Who's growl at him? Bite him, bite him." And the problem I always have with animals is when they go behind you, that's kind of unnerving.
Yeah.
Like I had that happen with my brother's Rottweiler. He was like 140 pounds. And when that dog went, like, you're supposed to bite shit. And that's
Mhm.
unnerving. Yeah. So,
Yeah, no, animals, yeah, when they're acting weird, that's when I kind of get like, all right, what are you seeing? Like, because if you don't see it and you don't feel it, you're like, okay. But when you can't see and you don't feel it, but they feel it, you're like, all right, what's going on? Like, it does get a little creepy at that point.
yeah. I mean, they also like a couple of my friends, I know they use animals on like Bigfoot with cryptids. And when you have a cryptid in the area or something that's an apex predator, and that could be a panther,
Mhm.
um, they pull you the other way. Like, fuck. They're like, hell with this. I'm going back to the house. I'll be in the truck. Especially with a dog, and I've heard so many encounters where the dogs are whimpering. Like, they know this thing is no joke. And have you ever noticed? Well, I don't know if you've done. Have you guys done cryptid stuff in Colorado? I mean, you are in
Uh,
an area where they do have Bigfoot
yeah,
and
so
dog.
we've tried a little bit. We're going to attempt to go on a little Squatch thing with the Sasquatch Outpost, where
Oh,
they
cool.
take you out and apparently you can see stuff. I don't know. We haven't done it yet, so I don't know. But they do a lot of research there, so I'm like, all right. There was one in Garden of the Gods, and we walked around there and I was like, didn't feel anything. We did find a pretty massive bear though. Uh, it did not like us
Yeah.
being out there.
And you have, yeah. I mean, you come up against. We have black bear, and we do. I think we have a couple of brown bear, but yeah, you don't want to come up against the bear.
Mm-mm.
No. And in Colorado, having more wilderness than like New York State, less people, more like this is my territory. That could be a bad situation.
Mm.
Real bad, real fast, and quick. But in New York, I mean, we have big cat, we have bear. Depends on where you are. For the most part, the black bears don't want to have anything to do with you. But it's yeah, and I don't have any firearms in New York State, so we do take them on in other places because it's not for the Bigfoot, and we let them know it's not for you. It's the other predators that we have, like wild hogs,
Mm.
boar that will run right at you and gut your leg. I mean, they're nasty.
Yeah.
And coyotes and panthers and whatever else is there. So you want to be protected, but in New York, it's just machete land. It's just like I got 3 machetes. Don't come near me. I'm
Right.
gonna
Yeah.
take it out now, dude.
Yeah. No, we always try because there's quite a few like ghost hunt locations in Colorado that are outdoors, and you're like up in the mountains, and you're like, okay, just be a little prepared in case you stumble across. Just know where you are. Be very alert. And when
Yep.
we came across that bear, we just calmly walked away because it just did a kind of like a bluff, and we're like, all right, just walk away calmly.
Yeah.
And we told, because Garden of the Gods is like a place where like kids go and they make out and stuff. So we saw some kids walking, and we're like, don't go that way. There's a bear. Go the opposite way.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's yeah. We have some of those spots. Um, Something very interesting. If you want to do a little cryptid, my first encounter was when I was 10 years old in a summer camp in Connecticut.
Okay.
But at the time, I'm older than you guys, but we didn't have all this stuff. We didn't have the internet. And the closest thing we had was like reruns of In Search of, or where they talked about Bigfoot and the Yeti. But they always talked about the Himalayas in the Pacific Northwest.
Mm.
You know, where the Patterson Gibbon film, was created. So I didn't think there was any Bigfoot on the East Coast. Wrong, big time wrong. There's a lot of them here, and I was in Northwestern Connecticut in my summer camp because my mother was the head counselor of the girls' side, and it was 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'm on a double decker bunk bed, and my feet go out. There's a window at the end of the bed. It's 3 feet by 3 feet. So I wake up. I'm getting the skunky smell big time. We have skunks, so I'm used to it. It's the woods. And I have to use the restroom. About 10 years old. So I sit up in bed, and as I sit up in bed, filling that entire window is the head of this giant gorilla or monkey. And it's in a bit shadow because the whole area is dark. And there's just, the lights behind him. And you can see the brow and like the big nose and the face. And he's doing this, looking around. So then I laid right back down in bed, and I'm like, what the hell is that? And I laid there for about 40 minutes before my bladder is like, dude, if you don't get to the bathroom, you're going to pee on Billy Carmen. It's going to be really messed up. But my feet were right there, no more than 6 inches from this thing's face. So I slowly pulled back on my feet. Then I slid down the bed, and I did a dog crawl underneath all the bunk beds. And one of them was by the door right near that window. So I did that really quick, and I stayed there and didn't move. And I got as far to the wall so I couldn't be seen. I probably was seen by it. And I went to the bathroom, and I was peeking back, and I didn't see him there. And I kind of dog crawled back, um, got in my bunk, and that was it. And I only remember that because I was talking to my buddy who had an encounter in Florida with a skunk ape, Bigfoot. And I said, I had something I remember because I have photographic memory, autographic memory. And I said, let me go look up. So I start typing. In the same year that I had that encounter at 3 in the morning, and I'm going to give you a situation. My camp has 280 acres, and the woods between my camp and this lake right next to it, which was a reservoir, so you couldn't go on there, maybe 200 yards of woods and a big reservoir, a couple miles. The name of the reservoir, you may have heard of it before, is Crystal Lake.
Oh, Camp Crystal Lake.
Well, the director and the producer of that movie wanted to use my camp as the location. I was there the day they came up. We're doing a horror film. It's about a summer camp, and she was like, nope. So they went down the road in Connecticut to the Kent or Kenmont to do it. Big mistake on her part. But the same year that I had that encounter, according to my research, at that reservoir in the front, there were 2 separate sightings of a wild man, which is another term for Bigfoot. 2 different people. On the back end of my camp went up a mountain a bit. On the back end of it, in the town, is a lover's lane, right by a dam. And there was a guy and a girl making out there, and they left pretty quick when they saw an 8-foot wild man that ran in front of their car, and they saw it clear as day, and they bolted out. So, yeah, they love Lover's Lane,
Maybe it's just because lovers' lanes are like so out of the way that you're trying to be hidden that just happens to be where they are.
Mhm.
Well, it's probably part of that, but I think they're also very curious about us. There's a lot of report in national forests and parks. So you guys have a bunch of them there.
Mhm.
I've heard. I don't remember the name of these people, these individuals, but a couple of Bigfoot researchers remember going to I'm just going to use Yellowstone because it's on the top of my head right now. We used to camp at Yellowstone in the summer, and I meet my friend, when I was little, and she was really hairy. And we'd have tea parties, and we'd play in the woods. They're describing a Bigfoot or a baby Bigfoot. And there's plenty of stories with baby Bigfoot interacting with the younger kids because they're not going to be judged. They're just curious. They watch us. Also, we have some good stuff we take with us camping. So when you start cooking your food, they're like, what the heck is that? And they come over and they see what you throw out. And when you go to bed, they'll pick through your crap and they'll eat your stuff. So there was an incident about, I want to say 2 years ago in your state where the military got involved in one of the national forests there because some animals, went after tourists and shredded them. But the military put in I think it's a 15-mile radius perimeter, and they wouldn't let anybody in or out. And one person that I met said, yeah, I live near there, and I saw this big black helicopter flying with something that was ginormous underneath it. Looked like it was in a tarp. Looked like a giant mummy. Had like a big mummy, and they airlifted it out, and it disappeared. So most of the time when you hear of national parks, there was a wild mauling of campers and, by Mount Rainier, it's like it actually may be a cryptid doing something and they send in people to take care of it.
Yeah, I was
So
gonna
it's
say
not,
that's similar to some stuff I've heard with like Washington around Mount
yeah.
St. Helens and stuff.
Oh, yeah. Well, when Mount St. Helens erupted, there were pictures at one point of something that was, it looked like a human being, but with a lot of hair on it. And there's reports that um, EMS firemen, they rescued a couple of these Bigfoot and took them out of stretchers, and they were heavily burned. And I'm sure they didn't get too far with them. I'm sure, like, nope, that's ours. Put it in that black truck right there. And they took them wherever. Um, yeah, it's craziness.
Yeah, it's always a little odd when the military has to come get involved because you're like, what are you really going after at that point? You know?
It's pretty peculiar.
Yeah.
Like, so I believed in Bigfoot. I believe in the Loch Ness Monster. I believe in a lot of these different things. I actually believe in a lot of the stuff that people call fantasy things like unicorns and Pegasus. I believe they existed at one point in time. Because if you look at all the different nations around the world that weren't connecting to each other like we do today, everybody has a similar story. Like, don't go there. That's where the sirens are, and don't go there. That's and so like they have dragons and whatever. So that's why I believed in that. But um, a lot of people, I don't. I'm trying to figure out why these things disappeared for the most part and why things stayed in that process. And I don't know, what you guys, your impressions. It gets a little weird, but we had actually this was fairly recent, a couple of months, probably before the summer started. I'm part of the North American Dogman Project. I think I'm Region 5 director. And I got this from a third party. I got an image of a dog man. If I can see it, let me see if I can actually find it and share it with you guys. This way it'd make your life easier. Basically what happens, I got sent a picture of a dog man pup
Okay.
for the most part. I think this is it. So yeah, this is it. So I'm sharing it right now. This is what I was sent, and it should be up. I'm gonna do another one right after that, so you can swap out. I lightened it a little bit. That's all I did. Now, initially, I was thinking you guys must have seen bears, right?
Mhm.
So yeah. So I was thinking, oh, this is a bear. But when you really look at this, um, it's a lot different from a bear, and it's the snout on it and everything. The ratio is very much Dogman esque, and I just put the other one up, and it's a lighter one, so you'll see a little bit more lightened. And so everybody's like, "Oh, it's a bear with mange." I'm like, "There's a lot of things. The eyes are too." I've seen bears, and they don't have. That's a little bit more. I want to say human-esque and like what a human type of eye would look like more so than a bear's eye. But what was really interesting is police in Ohio were responding to a bear issue. So they sent a squad of people there. And in the process of sending the squad of people, I'm going to put another one up. So I'm going to give your audience all these photos. Thank God I have them. There was these guys showed up, three guys, paramilitary. They're right there, and they were told that's ours. We're taking it. Move along. Now, from what I understand, the individual who took this photo is the police officer that responded, who was friends with another person where I got it. I'm trying to interview this guy because I want more background on it. And these three guys came in, and they are a bit paramilitary esque, and they said, we're taking it. And then what they do is they put it in an 18-wheeler, which was pretty interesting. And I'm going to try to show you. Inside the 18-wheeler was a device in the truck. And I'm thinking it's a containment device. So it gets it in the truck. This is in the 18-wheeler. They put it in there, and it does something to the creature so that it can't change or dematerialize or do what it does innately.
Oh,
And yeah, and this guy followed the truck, and I'm going to send you another one. I apologize.
no,
Um,
no, it's all good.
and they followed. He followed the 18-wheeler. There's the 18-wheeler. That's the second half. As it was entering a facility, and it ended with him taking one last image and of the location right there. That's the last one. Um, it should pop up in a second. If it does not, yeah, and that's where it ended. And he was, apparently they were radioed, walk away from it, and they walked away from it, and it never happened type of stuff. But he does have this. He took images himself with this, so it's pretty interesting. Apparently, the dog man, it seemed to be very young. It did not give a struggle. It's just like, yeah, just take me. And so it must have been injured at one point. But you know, can you see looking at that? And some people in your audience are going to say like, "Oh, that's just a bear." You got to really look at it, blow it up a bit more. And I know what black bears look like. I know what grizzlies look like. There are certain factors where the eyes never lie, and they have an eye shape to it that is not what you would see in a bear. And I've seen this creature, in person. I had two incidents, and if you want me to go into them, I will. I have
Oh yeah.
no problem about it. Okay. And there's different variants of, I think you're aware of Dogman has like 7 variants. If you're aware, if you're not aware, there they are. So there are different variants of Dogman. I'm going to get out of the photo. There's variant 1, 2, 3, and one is more canine. The other one is a variant. It's more, let me move over. It's more of a hyena. Then there's one more baboon, a little bit more jaguar-ish. And then you get into the really nasty ones on the top shelf right there, which are like, you do not want to meet these things. Soldiers, and it's like Van Helsing type of stuff. So I didn't want to believe in Dogman whatsoever. I thought, like, you guys are crazy. My buddy was like, dude, you're like, you got to hear this, look and listen to this. And I'm like, and I made a comment like, I think this is all BS, and we're really stepping over a line, like making stuff up, because a lot of people in this industry do. And then I got a phone call from all zeros on my caller ID. It said USG. It was 000 000, and then 4 more zeros. I'm like, hello? Now, I've had calls like that before because I had to contact the U.S. Marshals about someone imitating a federal agent. And I spoke to a Detective Benedetti from the U.S. Marshals 2nd District. And it's all zeros, and it says U.S. Marshals Southern District, New York, because they have to have an anonymity as well. And they dealt with it. So I was like, oh, maybe this is like the U.S. Marshal or something like that. And I got some guy on the phone. He's like, oh, you don't believe? I'm going to tell you they're real. And they're very real. And he was basically explaining to me, we had a very brief conversation, but long enough to get a lot of stuff. He works for the government. He's in part of a task as a unit, and his job is to take care of situations like I mentioned in Colorado, with the cutoff, and military bases. And they come in, and when these creatures come in and they get aggressive, or they have something there and they got to get rid of it, and they will get rid of it, dead or alive. Of course, it's better if it's alive, because then you can do more experiments and what have you. And then we get into the potential for a super soldier. And I would think that if they found a cryptid like this, the government would be experimenting on it 24/7 to see like can we use it as a soldier or a killing machine. But I think this dog man is an actual species. And just like we have different people, from Asian to, different colors, and we have different species of these creatures. And So I was like, okay, well, now I believe. And every once in a while, I'll get things magically appearing in text messaging with no way to trace it. Or the best was email because I knew how to trace an email. But there's no headers, there's nothing in it. It's like, boop, it pops in, and you're like, okay. One of which is a video of a tall gray talking to a gentleman from South America face to face. You may have seen this video. It made the rounds recently. I had it probably 10 years ago, and it was very impressive. Um, but so we go on a day night investigation in an area in upstate New York. Um, and it's Letchworth Village. So it's a 28,000 acre facility for disfigured, unwanted bastard children, mentally retarded, um, banes on society, or like, if you had an affair with somebody, that's what they did. It's not a great facility, but there's a couple of doctors were experimenting on people there and whatever. So part of that facility at the low end of it, away from the main buildings, is a massive burial mound of over 300 people. And we were going to investigate that cemetery. And me and my buddy Al went, and it's a 2-lane road in the country, very little housing, and right where the facility is, like this entrance, you got to pull onto gravel, park your car on the side of the road, walk down a quarter mile, and then as you get to the quarter mile, you have a cutout, a cutaway for power lines on the left, some woods, and then this path, and then you are immediately greeted by a huge tree, but in front of it is a 5 foot by 5 foot piece of concrete with a plaque on it, because the families of the people that were there started to try to track and mark them off. So we were doing a paranormal investigation like you guys do, ghost hunting. So I was in paranormal mode. I'm not in cryptid mode. I'm thinking, turn the flashlight on, or EVPs, and talking to these things. And with my buddy, what we did is we set up, when we first got there, we set up behind that big concrete thing, because that's what at the head of the path. So we wanted protection behind us. So we put our stuff there so you couldn't see us, and we would sit there. So we sat there for a few minutes. And when we did, we had these 2 kids come in on a side by side, like super fast. And you can hear they're talking on a radio. We're looking for them. And they went past us, and we're like, what the hell's going on? And they go around, and there's these 2 little roads that go around this big mound area. Then it goes up a hill a bit, and then it cuts across where the power lines would go. Like, it would be the perfect place to dirt bike. So, and they go up there, and then we hear them coming back. And I'm like, should we stop them? I think they're looking for us, So we stand up, and they stop, and they're like, what are you doing here? And we say, we're paranormal investigators. We're investigating this cemetery. And they repeated, they're paranormal investigators. They're investigating the cemetery. We're out of here. And they got out quick. Very strange, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, really bizarre. Now, I heard some dog barking in the background, but again, I'm in paranormal mode, ghost hunting mode. So my buddy Al goes one way. I go another way. This is how we do it. We're doing EVPs. He's like, you hear those dogs? I'm getting like this dog man vibe. And I'm like, whatever. I'm in, ghost hunting modes. How long have you been dead? And I'm not feeling at this point, but he's being drawn to certain spots of the woods. So eventually we hook back up, and we go up the trail, and we go on the other side. And typical of investigators, like, dude, if we lived here, we'd be drinking beer and smoking pot in these woods every day. Like, this is what we would be doing. We wouldn't be playing around with ghost hunting. And there was nothing except for like these dogs bark, and you hear it echoing. Like, one dog sounded pretty big, but I was still in ghost hunting mode. And I'm like, we're not getting anything here. So I busted out my meter, my EMF meter, and it had the digital readout on it. And we're hanging out, and the dog's barking, and I'm like, we're at this spot, and I go, if is anybody here? Can you give us a sign? So we got a little bit on the K2, and I said, okay, can you turn this reading so it says 72? It's like 63, and it starts going up 72. I'm like, oh, cool, we're getting feedback here. I'm like, thank you very much. Can you turn it down to 40? Goes to 40. I'm like, okay, we're having an interaction to a certain degree with something. And my buddy's asking some questions, and I kind of just looked up. And this is when I went into cryptid mode. Probably about 10 to 12 feet up is a fresh break in the tree. Like a fresh break. And I went, Al, look. He's like, what? I'm like, look up, dude. He goes, oh, that's interesting. And I'm like, yeah. So Al looks, he grabs a stick, and he's going to, he's trying to do a tree knock. So he got like crappy wood, and it broke. Then he found another stick. Dog's barking. He went, whack. And as soon as that happened, every dog shut its mouth. Pin drop. We're like, that's interesting. So I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. And we went out and we said, let's go get something to eat. We'll come back like day night. That's how we like to do things. So we went out to eat. It was November, mind you, but it was a warm day. It wasn't like too, bad. I had a heated jacket on, so I didn't care. Had that in Milwaukee. It's great for, expeditions. And then we come back. And when we come back, we don't park on the left-hand side closer to the entrance. We park on the right further up underneath this fake street lamp that someone made out of the top of an old garbage pail with an incandescent bulb in it. And it looks like it's one of these paths that someone made to go walk in the woods. So we park there. I get out of his Jeep and I slide down. We're on a 3-foot grade. There's only a little bit of step there. So I slid down 3 feet. I'm like, whoa, I got to watch that step. So get out. We put our headlamps on and we start walking in. And I said to Al, I said, if these guys ever come back when we were at dinner, I said, we should ask them, have they seen anything here? Can we ask you some questions? And true to form, as soon as we got in, we sat down, we unpacked our stuff to get our stuff out. They come in the side by side. We're looking, and they take off. They're looking for us, and I said, you know what? Let's just stand out again. And they stopped. I'm like, hey, we stopped them. Like, what? And said, can we ask you a couple of questions? No, and they got out like super quick. So the type of stuff like they know something's going on that we don't, and they want out of this whole mess, which is not always a good thing as an investigator, right?
Right.
It's like, what do we get ourselves into? So as the night goes on, we sit there for a bit. There's a full moon. You can see through the trees into the opening, which is a natural pathway, by the way, for cryptids. They love walking through that stuff. And then my hand to God, Al starts acting weird. He has this stupid look on his face. I'm like, what's wrong with you, dude? He goes, oh, nothing. And I'm like, goes, I charged my camera. It's not working. I'm like, let me see. And I turn it on. I'm like, it works. Put it down in the bag. He picks it up. It's not working. And he has a dumbass look on his face. You know your friend. So it's like, all right, well, I'm not happy. Like, you have like this, he has this stupid grin on his face, like smile, pardon the expression, the best way to do it. Girls, this is what some of the guys do. Like when one of your friends farts and like, do you fart? And you're like, no. And you smile. It's that kind of like, we know something's wrong with you, dude. So we're sitting there. There's a mound in front of us. We got moonlight coming in. And my hand to God, we start getting this fog coming in on the bottom. And it's coming in from the opening and it's sweeping across this huge gravesite. If that wasn't a horror film, exactly like in a werewolf movie or a Dracula movie, the fog comes in and you're like, and I'm like, no effing way this is happening. So I was like, holy shit. And, prior to, just a backtrack for a second, prior to us going out to go get some food, there was a little cutaway entrance that we went and we said, let's go, a little path. And we started going down the path and we found the most unusual tree marking. Something or someone and I know what this is, and it's very dogman. Pulled a tree out of the ground so the roots are there, and flipped it upside down so the roots are on the top, and then had other trees suspended, making like an umbrella with big trees, 2 foot diameter, 3 foot diameter. And I walked underneath it ahead, and my buddy I was like, Bryan, don't go. I think we're being drawn into something. They may be trying to get us to do something. So I pulled back. And so let's go back to this. So Al's acting weird, and I'm like, I've got to, again, I had a ton of caffeine. It's getting colder. I've got to pee, and I'm not going to do that on a gravesite. That's so wrong. So we agree, let's go. So we walk out. We're wearing, we have the blue lamps on. And as we're walking back to his car, we see this orangish, orange yellow eye shine. And I'm like, oh, it's probably a deer. And as we're seeing, the eye shine is getting bigger, and it's near the car. So we get there, and there is something sitting no more than 15 feet away from me on the passenger side. I'm on the passenger side. And it's on its haunches. It's just sitting there. Al's like in the backpack. Come on, Bryan, come on. And I'm like, I already started. I opened the door, threw my bag in. I have a machete in my back, one across my chest and one on my side. And I am peeing like Austin Powers peed in Austin Powers, evacuating. And I'm going, and this thing's in front of me, and it's just sitting there. And it's good. It looks like a big dog. It's not a deer. It's got that Marmaduke type of Scooby-Doo type of head and whatever. And you can see the ears, and they're pointed. And it's just sitting just in the shadows where you can see it's mass to it, and it's not moving. It's eyes. I don't even know if they were open at this point. And Al's screaming, get in the car, Bryan. I'm going to leave you. And I'm like, you're not going to leave me. You don't want to deal with my wife. You're not going to fucking leave me. Let's go. And I'm like, I can't stop. I already broke the stream. Like, that's it. We're going. And this thing, eventually, after a couple of minutes, it goes from sitting and it goes down on, it disappears behind this log 15 feet from me. And it's kind of pointing to the right direction. I'm facing it this way. So that means it looks like it's going to try to come around. And I got goose pimples that popped up. And that's usually a sign on any investigation. Something's going to happen. And I said, I got to go. And I get in the car, and Al peels off like Mario Andretti. And I'm looking out the back. I have my machete ready. And I'm looking at the rearview mirror because I thought this thing was going to run out and start chase us. Total dog man. It registered at the same time it was happening when the goose pimples came up. I'm 6 foot 1 inches tall. I'm on a 3-foot grade. That makes me 9 feet 1 inches tall. This thing sitting down on the ground, its snout, muzzle, was here, which means sitting down on its haunch, it was 8 feet tall. So if that thing stood up, it's going to be 12 feet tall, closer to 12 feet. And if you know anything about canines or that kind of stuff, when another canine male pisses in front of one of them, or it's marking your territory, you're saying to that male, I'm the alpha and you're my bitch. Because I've dogs my entire life. And I think it was just shocked. Like, is that guy just peeing in front of me? Really? I think, it was taken back by like, this guy thinks he's an alpha? I don't even know what it was thinking. But that was my first encounter 15 feet away. And it only got really intense when it disappeared. And I'm like, if I waited another minute, I probably would have been dead. We would not be talking. And my friend Al would have a story like, yeah, well, he died that night. He was mauled to death. And I went for cannolis, whatever it is, Right. So one of the other encounters happened a year ago. again, I live in Florida. I haven't been in New York in over a year. We come up in the summers every once in a while. So I have two brothers in the lodges that I know. They know what I do. And they're like, "Hey, you want to take us to see Bigfoot?" I said, "Yeah, I got a spot for Bigfoot, and I do have a spot in upstate New York. And if you have Bigfoot, what else do you have there? You have Dogman, and you usually have something in between a barrier. It could be a mountain, it could be a river, it could be a no man's land that they kind of agree on. Say, you stand your side, we stand our side. No one's gonna get hurt, right? So when you go down the pathway, you get to a point where you have to go to the right to go to the Bigfoot side of the equation. And if you don't, you keep going left, you're going to go to the Dogman side. So I said, okay, guys, we're going to go up this path. Stay to the right. You're going to get to a point, and it's going to break off. Go to the right. Don't go left. And I'll be back there. I'm just grabbing this bag with some stuff. So they headed out. I was grabbing some stuff just in case we get tracks. Got to get powder. I was getting water, putting things in bags. And after a couple of minutes, I hear one of them yelling, "Help." And I'm like, what the F is going on? So I bolt up and I go, and they're there. And I'm going down this pathway. And what happened was, unbeknownst to me, the right path that they're supposed to go was covered with brush. So you would never know. Unless I was ahead of it, I'm like, where did this path go? I would know certain markings.
Mhm.
So there's no way for them to go to the right. So I get up there. I'm like, I'm mentioning names, and I will not mention names on air because family wise, for them.
Mhm.
And there they are. And they're 20 yards from a very young dog man that looks more like the middle guy right there, right above me. And he has this big fang hanging out, snarling, and he's making that. And he's telling us, you get out of here now. So I said, okay. And I'm like, listen, we're going to go. Let's go. And my buddy turned around. I said, no, 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 no. You're going to back out with me. Back out. We backed out away. We went around. And then we turned around and we went. And we got to the car. I'm like, are you guys okay? And they had this look on their face like shock. And I go, I'm sorry. There are other cryptids out there. This is the dog. I was explaining it to him. And I said, but we can go back up there. I know where the path is. I saw it was covered. We'll just go around. And the guys, we want to go home. We want to go home now. Like they were really, really upset, and I don't blame them because it's not something you want to meet, and you don't believe it exists. And there it is live, and it's about 7 feet tall, and it has it's like this, but down lower, and it's growling at you, and they couldn't wrap their mind around it. So we drove, and I said, I'm sorry about that. I didn't know there was, this brush. And long story short, they won't talk to me, and they won't go anywhere near me. And they're still dealing with that trauma right now. That's why we have people evaluated before they come out, because everybody, they watch Taps and they see, oh, it's cutesy, but no, it's not cutesy, and it's very unnerving, and it goes against everything you know. And so that's why we have to be careful with it. I hate this cryptid more than any of them. I never wished it was alive, but it is. And I think I'm going to piss people off. I'm doing a conference, the Crossing Realms Conference, September 19th to 20th in Richmond, Missouri. And I'm presenting on cryptids. I think they wanted me to do Dogman, but I'm going to kind of gel things together because there's a connection there to some other ones. And, when you're not prepared for these things, it's all. Like I say, like when we go on a ghost hunt or whatever, it's all fun and games till someone gets possessed, and that's the truth. It's like, or you have this encounter, you have a bad encounter on a ghost hunt, That could be really, really bad. Nick Ruff, uh, you know, I mean, he's had some tough stuff too. You know, those ghost hunter guys, but with a cryptid like this, it's a monster. It's a real life monster in front of your face, and you're like, holy effing, whatever. So I prefer Bigfoot. Not that they don't, they aren't aggressive either. They're very aggressive, but and it's not Harry and the Hendersons like we're bringing one home, yay! I'm gonna call you Sloth. You're gonna come live with me, Sloth. It's not like Goonies or anything, but and there's a healthy respect when you have something that you feel the presence of this thing when it walks. Like, have you guys ever been to an outdoor circus or like an agricultural fair?
Mm.
And they have they do like the all right, we're going to do the horse pull, and you hear the horse, you can feel the horses hitting the ground.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's like with Bigfoot and this cryptid too. It's big. It's like an elephant walking, and it's there's a healthy respect for it, especially since I use this as an example. Do you remember Michael Jackson?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Michael Jackson had a baby chimpanzee named Bubbles. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And Bubbles was probably about 3 feet tall, right? Used to carry Bubbles with him. Oh, nice and cute. Bubbles, at the age of 3, as a baby, has enough strength of 10 men and can literally rip your head off your body. Okay. Take that, something 3 years old, whatever. Strength of 10 men, multiply it, and add some extra weight and strength. This is why Bigfoot has been found and has ripped the head of prize bulls off. It's no joke, like what they can do. It goes on and on and on. I mean, when you guys started, maybe I'm going to switch it on you guys. Did you guys? You started with probably ghost hunting, right? And that's where you started. And then, what about like UFOs and stuff? Do you do any of that stuff, or?
Yeah, so I know as far as like investigating, we started with ghosts because of we grew up in a house that was very haunted, so of course that
Yeah.
drew our interest. But of course, once you go into it, you start reading about like cryptids, and cryptids have always been big. I guess I grew up in the '90s when cryptids were kind of everywhere. Like even Unsolved Mysteries had like cryptids and stuff. But
Oh
yeah, and
yeah.
then we got into aliens, UFOs. I know Sam's had some experiences. Our buddy who's in the group, who's Navajo, who has skinwalker experiences, but he saw the Phoenix Lights.
Oh, he did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe that was legit and real,
Mhm.
and no problem with that. It's just that's kind of cool. So he's Navajo. Is
Mhm.
he? Does he have family on the Navajo reservation?
No, the last family members he had that were on the reservation just recently moved, just because it's
Okay.
been pretty bad out there.
Yeah, it's not a good situation for any of these reservations. Not good, but I've been trying to get in touch with the group of law enforcement officers that investigate these crazy things on the reservation.
That's what his dad was going for. We don't know too much, but that's as far as like he told us. But we
No,
know
that's fine.
yeah.
There's a lot of stuff that people hold close to the vest, and I'm
Mhm.
fine with it. Because those I forgot their names and the terms, but there's a couple of famous guys from that, and I wanted to try to set up that if I ever went out there, that I can get access and just talk to them.
Yeah.
I really have no desire to see a skinwalker, or a Wendigo, and that's about as much I'm going to talk about, like mentioning them, because people get upset. But there's a. Do you ever hear of the? So you ever hear about the skinwalker that was on the bus out of Canada?
No, if you want to tell us, I will tell you the story that Alan's dad told us that we've had on the show, so I know we can talk about it.
Okay. So this is years ago. It was a Greyhound bus or one of those, And I remember hearing this because I remember hearing the radio. It was live. They had someone had the radio tapped into something, and you can hear it. It was in Canada. I forgot exactly where it was, but there was an immediate situation. They had a bus surrounded the Mounties. So this is what happened. They're on a bus to go from point A to point B, and this guy gets on the bus who looks indigenous, native, the Amanais. And everybody after that interview said he smelled like rotting flesh. He smelled terrible. He didn't look right. There was something weird about him to begin with. And he went to the back of the bus and sat down next to somebody who was there. And while the bus was driving, he cut the head off of the guy that he was sitting next to and then started eating it on the bus. And there was I actually saw it, and then I can't find it any place because they always censor this stuff out. But they had live cameras there, and the Mounties surrounded the bus, and he's holding the head up in the window of the bus the door well, and then he's chewing on it. Long story short, there is a really good shot. He was a skinwalker, and he was starving, and he was supposed to go to point A to B, and he had that point where he couldn't take it anymore, and that's what it was. Of course, they put him as insane, and just recently, within the last 2 years, he came up for parole, but I'm not sure he got it. He's reformed. I'm like, I don't know about that. That's, cutting. There's one thing about using a firearm at a distance, to take something out. When you get people that use knives, that's very personal. Mm-hmm. And it's a whole different psyche involved in it. And I'm not just talking about defending yourself against somebody. I'm talking about people that perpetrate crimes that way. So that's pretty much weird. But basically, they still think he's a skinwalker. And,
That's interesting.
Yeah, it was kind of cool when it was happening. Not for the guy that got killed, but it's like that's your sometimes that's your speed to a certain degree. It's like, dude, are you listening to this? Yeah, I'm listening to this. I'm like, it's sick. Because it is. It's this is the stuff that we kind of look into. So what about your other partner's dad?
Yeah, so one of the stories, and he could tell better, but like the gist of it is they were out in a camper on the reservation at night, and I don't know if they were I don't know, but at night they kept hearing like these cows and stuff, and like they'd open the windows and you'd see cows like brushing about it, and there's like all these cows, and they didn't go outside because superstitions and what could
you're not supposed to go outside at a certain point.
Yeah, and so they go out in the morning, no cow tracks, old people tracks.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to remember the Navajo group. I can see them, and I can't see their patch. That's very similar to the group that I'm talking about that hunts these type of oddities, legendary things, anomaly, X-Files stuff. There was a show about them, and they got to a certain point. This video's online, and they tracked this person to a spot, and he was hiding behind a rock.
Oh yeah, like on a cliffside, there's like rocks, and you can see his eyes.
Right, you can see his eyes poking, and then what happened was they were like trying to figure it out. They're shining the light on him, and the next thing you see is a wolf that pops up, and it's big. It has the same color eyes, and it kind of turns to go up the hill a little bit, turns and looks back, and then it takes off. So they go up to the top of it, and the guy's disappeared. Mm-hmm. So you're basically seeing the transformation. And I don't know if they talk about the process of how you get to the point where you are what that is, but it's a lot of horrific things you do to a lot of innocent people, and that's why it's just like that's why they don't talk about it.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's a lot of native folklore that's and the you know the Wendigo it's evil looking. It's like a antlers and skull and matter of fact, I
So
have a
right,
story
yeah.
for you. So
Okay.
when we went to that Letchworth Village place, one of the guys there used to be in the Air Force. This is upstate New York, not like super upstate. So we're hanging out there, we're meeting up, and he goes, over here, there's an underground base from the military. We can go there and explore it. It's abandoned. So we were talking about it, and there's like these tunnels, and then there's a big open area and some, lockers and whatever. I'm like, okay, that's kind of cool. A little exploration. Who knows what's down there? And then we went about our day. So we didn't tell our psychic anything else after that. We got the information about what her impressions were for the trip. What we're going to encounter. There's an old lady. She knows you're coming. She's happy to see you. And we had some experiences and, very ghost hunter esque. So that was like I think it was a Saturday. On the Monday, she calls my buddy Al and goes, "What the hell are you guys?" We were together at something else. It was us both. She goes, "What the hell are you guys doing? What are you investigating?" And we're like, "What are you talking about? We're not doing anything." No, no. What's that underground thing you're investigating? You're not investigating that. And we're like, "What? That base?" And we're like, "Holy crap!" They mentioned it. It was considered. She goes, "You're not investigating it." Long story, but we're going to shorten it. One of those nights, I think it was Sunday into Monday, she's sleeping in her house in Arkansas, and they're an hour behind where you guys are. And she finds herself going to that underground base, and she is face to face. And she explains it. She goes, "I'm face to face with this thing. It's the most scariest, hideous thing in the world. It's got antlers." So we did a search. I said, "Is this it?" And we sent it to her. She goes, "That's him." And he says, "Don't come." And he scratched her, and she literally had a triple scratch down her arm.
Hmm.
And he visited. She got out of her house at 3 a.m. She said, "I was in my nightgown. I salted my entire damn property at that point." Scared the crap out of her.
Yeah.
And that's somebody that, she connects on a psychic level a lot to serial killers. It's just some psychics get attached to certain things, the victim of murders or the serial killer. And the serial killer starts talking to her. When they're connected, they know that they're connected somehow. I don't know how it is. And that's pretty freaky too. But she woke up and she saw that Wendigo. And that's what she goes, that it lives down there and it does not want you there. I'm like, okay. I'm like, I have no problems. I don't need to go down to a stupid base. That's the last thing
Yeah.
I need is like, crap, a Wendigo.
Right.
Who
Yeah. If
knows?
it's down there, let it be. It's happy down there. Let it be.
I'm good. Like in Florida, I do stuff with this guy Stevie Strings and his group, the Creature Man, Chris, and I just had Julia Sims on my show. She's part of that group, and their friend Carol also is part of it. And I mean, he has Class A sightings in that area. One of which is near a park on the west coast of Florida. This French Canadian family came down. They rented the whole weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And they're leaving Monday. You rent a whole campground, so it's like 10 acres. It's like you get a bathroom, you get some there's lean-to. It's really weird. And they come the first day, the next day. So they're there Friday. They setting up, and Saturday morning they go, we're leaving. We would like to, can we get a refund? And the guy that's the forestry ranger there, you just came for the week. Why are leaving? Then the father said, I don't know. I'm just very uncomfortable. That bear stared at us all day and all night. It just sat there and stared at us. The bear. I'm like, it wasn't a freaking bear. It was a Bigfoot.
Mhm.
And he goes, they kept coming closer, and it was just sitting there and staring at us. So we don't feel comfortable us being there, and they left. But another encounter they had there. One of the guys in the team is a former police officer, so he gets inside information. They're serious. He's an evidence collector too, so he knows forensics, which is very important when you're collecting stuff for cryptids. And he was telling there's an old campsite in this area in a forest, and you have to, like, if you walk there, it's like miles, like three, at least 3 to 4 miles in and then out. And so this guy was going in there, and he noticed it, he went in a little bit deeper. The rangers have to check certain things, see if everything's up to par. And he goes in and he forgot something, so he comes right back out. He went there, and what he did was when he got to the beginning of it, he remembered, oh crap, I got to go get this. But he did notice these big ass footprints there, like super big, like 20-inch prints, left and right, and he was like impressions in the grass. And then when he comes back after he picks up something he had to get and bring it back there, he sees blood everywhere. And one of the boars, its head was removed from the body. And he must have come back when the Bigfoot just ripped it out. But that's class A.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. I had an experience out there. We went at my first time, and we had it's a private campground, so you have a gate in front of your campground. You have to do the lock so you can park in there. So when you pull in, there's as soon as you go down into that, there's two spots on the left. If you go a little bit further down, there's a like a wood plank like corral area, so you can put one car on one side. Then there's a pathway, and then two or three on the other side. So I parked on the closer side, and when I got there, they're like, "Whoa, hold up." So they found two different prints. They found a mother and daughter print, or a child, and one was 16 inches. The other one was like 12 inches. So if it's the right foot of the mother, you see the left foot of the child, and you can see the difference, which is a great print. I did a lidar print of it, so I can print it up later on. So they protected it. So I moved as close to this wooden plank, as I could. We went out all night. We started at 11. We were having some activity actually in the campsite. I said we probably should stay here because this is where it's active. Why leave? And they had their own thing. So that was my first trip there. So that's button your lip, be respectful. Second time, now I'm part of your group. No, we're staying, guys. Whatever. So when we came back, it was like we started at 11 o'clock at night. We came back at 4:45. And it's Florida, and it's a swampy area. So it's like 99 degrees, probably 100% humidity. I'm in longs and, a sweatshirt. I'm exhausted. I'm not used to the exercise. I couldn't get in my tent because it's one of those low ones where you're like, I would have fallen in. I'm like, I need help getting up, So I said, I'm going to sleep in my car because it had air conditioning. So I got in the car and I turned it on. I shut the lights off the car, and I had my firearm on me in my front of my sweatshirt. And I said, I'm just exhausted. I'm tired, and I just had the vibe something was outside the window of the car, passenger side. But I left the live camera on the inside of the car. And at one point, I'm like lying there, and the car dings after half an hour and says, we're shutting off in 30 minutes. So you got to press the button.
Mhm.
And when I did, and I kind of looked over at the window, I saw the breath. It was like that breath in Jurassic Park. So you started building condensation outside, right? I see this breath going down, and I'm like, I've got a voyeur, but I'm really, really tired. I'm achy, and and I said out loud, I'm tired. I'm going to sleep. You want to watch me? go for it. And I just slept with my hand on my piece, and I woke up only 2 hours later because the sun came out, and I shut the car off. I was, you got to use the bathroom. And when I got up, I walked around the back of the car, and I couldn't fit between the car and the wood that's there protecting the corral. But like a young child could go in there, but you couldn't open the door. But right by my window are two knuckle prints right in the ground. So this thing leaned in. It was like, checking me out and breathing on the glass like a pervert or whatever it was, you know. And sometimes, people are like, how come you didn't do anything? I'm like, dude, I'm tired. It's like you get exhausted, the heat exhaustion. You just you want to stop. It's not about Bigfoot. It's not about ghosts anymore. It's about I'm cranky and tired. No.
Yeah, no, I've been in Florida. I was there right when the hurricane was like our plane was the last plane to get out of Orlando when the hurricane.
Oh my God, yeah.
So I know the humidity. Yeah, it gets rough sometimes.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So we had this experience, and I don't know if I'm just the only one that remembers it, but we were going out looking for gold camp, right? And we didn't find it, but the time went so fast. Like when we came back, it's like we lost a few hours.
Oh.
And we come back out, and we had gotten followed by something like a car. I don't remember what color it was, but I always wondered what that was. I don't know if you've had experience, if you kind of know maybe what that could have been.
Like losing some time and then being followed by something?
Yeah, and then
Or
like I'm like the only one that remembers it. It's really weird.
I remember things. Yeah, I've had two incidences of missing time. And it still perplexes me because as an investigator, we're always doing time checks. Like
Mhm.
people get pissed off at you, like, "Hey, can you take a picture?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And I always take three. I'm like, "Pow, pow, pow." Because as a paranormal investigator, you got to take more than one to see if
Yeah.
there's movement and something's, And they're like, "Why do you just gave me like 35 pictures?" And I'm like, "I'm sorry. It's like once you get the habit." Like, so, um, the first one happened in the another day night investigation. Um, and I'm gonna do a quick summary of it. But if you want me to come back, or we can talk about it another time because it's a long, it's kind of long, but it started off day night. We're at the top of a lake. We had a Bigfoot encounter. Okay. And that's where everything changed for me. I was flesh and blood at one point, but this Bigfoot went from point A to point B, the other end of the lake, in a split second. And I said, this is a creature that has the ability to go interdimensional and open portals. And then after that, we were moving to another location, and that's where we had missing time. There was a UFO. So we see this object flying across the sky, and I go, "What is that?" And it stops moving across, and it goes right towards us. And my buddy, the video of that is actually on Bronxville Paranormal Society, at Nuclear Lake. And I remember when we were packing up from the Bigfoot camp, I was put my camera in the bag, and something said to me, "Bryan, don't be that guy that misses the opportunity." So then I took it out and I put it in my breast pocket. And I had a pretty full solid card. I kept changing the card. So all I got to do is press the button, and I would kept recording. I would never stop it for anything unless it's over. So, but in the video, you see this thing come over. You hear this weird sound like an engine hum, and then a music. And you hear my buddy go, "Time check," and the other guy goes, 9:15. And then after that, we hear a little bit more. That's those musical sounds. And one of the guys there, the guy said 9:15. Bill, you hear him. Oh, it's gone. It's not there anymore. Very robotic. Like it doesn't sound anything like him. And we're like, okay, so to get from that point to the next campsite literally is 10 minutes, no more than that. So we go, we sit there, we set up, and Prior to that, we tried to call our psychic over at the Bigfoot site, but there was so much pressure that she sounded like she had Bell's palsy, so we couldn't connect. So we're there at the new site. Took us, 9:15. This thing didn't seem to last too long. We get there and we do maybe 30 minutes of investigation on camera. We see it on the camera, like how much time has gone. We try to play that back. Missing. It won't work. File corrupted. Won't work. Of course. Why not? It's a paranormal investigation, right? And then my buddy goes, you know what? Let's call Cindy back. Time check. And I look at my watch and it's 11:45. And we're missing a significant portion of time. Almost 2 hours. So that was weird. That is weird. There's other things that happened after that, and I will explain it. I'll go into full details. I don't want to kill you guys with it. You know, but the other time it happened, I got to be careful because they're listening. We were driving back and forth to Florida to look for houses, and we were staying in Florence, South Carolina. So when we originally stayed at Fayetteville but if you go one more hour, it really cuts off a lot of time on the back end. So around Fayetteville, they shut 95 down. So doing construction or whatever. They put us on a rural route 301. So it's by the time we got on this road, my kids have been sleeping forever, the other half sleeping, and I'm jonesing for a smoke. So I'm like, okay. And I see this thing in the sky and it's changing red, orange, green, blue, purple, violet, and, whatever, burst. But it could be, I'm right next to Fort Bragg. So it could be a drone, whatever it is. And I'm like, whatever. So I roll off to the side of the road. They're sleeping. And my Waze says, I know I'm an hour from that point. So I should, if it's 11:45, it should be there 1 o'clock in the morning, 1:45, right? So I get out, shut the light off interior, and I slowly close the door, light a cigarette, and I'm looking at this thing. Red, orange, green, blue, purple, burst. Comes a little bit closer, burst, does the whole thing. And I'm like, I wish I had my psionic night camera. It does night vision. It's pretty inexpensive. It's like $700. And so I can capture all this. And the next thing I know, I'm looking at it. Next thing I know, I don't remember getting in the vehicle. But I'm waking up in the car. And I'm like, did I fall asleep? Like, how the hell did I get in the car? And my phone is, of course, off. And I tap the phone to wake it up. And I open it up. And Waze is there. It says, do you want to resume your drive? It says that. I said, yeah. It says, you'll be at your destination at 4 a.m. So, 11:45. Okay, 11:45, 1:45. 2, 1:45. So I lost 3 hours. And all four of us, someone's here. So when we get there, it's 4 a.m. and the other half's like, what the hell took so long? And I'm like, I'm trying to figure this out. And I said, they closed down the highway. Now, my kids don't complain about being sick or anything, but everybody had a headache. I even had a headache. I felt like I've been hit in the head. So we go to sleep the next day. My kids in one bed, I'm in the other bed. We get up, we're going to start the trip. Got to hit the Waffle House because Waffle House rules. It's amazing. I think I could eat Waffle House every day. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner, awesome. So my youngest goes, Daddy, can you help me with my shirt? So when she sits up in the bed and she's 9, 10, I see on the sheet a little blood stain. So she takes her shirt off. I'm going to put her other shirt on. And I go, let me see something, honey. And I look on her back, and right by where the scapula is, I see what looks like an indentation, like a BB mark. And I'm like, okay. So I'm like, whatever. She goes, what's wrong? I said, I think you have a bug bite, a mosquito bite. I couldn't tell her. She'd scare shitless. We go to Florida, we do our thing down there, and we go into the new community that we're going to buy in. And they're building the community, so a lot of homes aren't there. Now, when I have a UFO encounter, I had it this past weekend at Gettysburg. Something happened there, too. I get a high-pitched, sound in my ear, like, oh, my ear is ringing. And the first thing I do is I look up. So I got that ear ringing. It's dusky and it's beautiful in Florida, even at dusk. It's like this, it's something about it. It looks really nice. And I look up and there's that effing craft. It's red, orange, green, blue, purple, violet, whatever. And it's changing color. And everybody went in the house of our friend. And I said, you want to take her, the wife? You want to take me? Fine. Leave my effing kids alone. Because I don't want them touching my kids. So that was that moment. We drove back the next day, 2 days later, and we met my wife's friend, and we went out to lunch at a local place. You have to understand something. My oldest daughter is never gets sick, doesn't get hurt. She's just has a great immune system, tough as nails, like whatever. So we go to lunch with her friend and her friend's daughter. I said, listen, I'm going to go inside. I'm going to pay the bill, and then I'm going to go. I'm going to use the bathroom. So I do that, and I come back out, and there's my wife holding a tissue over my daughter's face. I'm like, what happened? She goes, oh, she had a nosebleed. I said, this kid doesn't get any of that shit. And she goes, and this came out, and it was like a square, like an inch by an inch, and it looked like a little foamy, maybe an eighth of an inch or a 16th of an inch thick. And my eyes were like, oh, okay. And I had these sandwich bags in my pocket because it was around COVID. So I can touch doors. I don't have to buy gloves or whatever. So I took it and I said, put it in here. She put the whole thing in there because I now I have proof. I'm going to give this to someone I know down at the colleges in New York City. And I used to mention the college, and that person got in trouble. So but it's a college in New York City, and they work in genetics in the lab, and I'm getting $10,000 worth of stuff for free. And I'm like, I'm going to put this down there. I've got proof about extraterrestrials. Boom, 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 boom. And later that day, I originally wanted to take it, get home quick, which I did. She goes, why are you so fast getting home? I'm like, I got to get home. I used the bathroom. I wanted to throw it in the freezer because cold is very important to maintain the integrity of it. And as soon as we got through, every time I was about to do something, I got pulled away. So the next day I found it. I'm like, and the whole thing dried up instantaneously, turned into powder. So when I opened the bag, the powder went everywhere. And I'm like, oh my God, like how frustrating. But that's the missing time thing. And when you're trying to figure it out, that's unnerving. That's why, like, when you go on investigations, you guys, and you're getting something weird happening, do a time check.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it's over, do a time check and compare, because that's how you're going to know if something happened. Because when they abduct you, and they will, you're not going to remember anything coming back. They don't want you to remember it because it's unnerving. I mean, do you really want to know that they shoved something up to get a sperm sample? No. And yes, they do use those things. And yes, it's the quickest way to get a male sperm sample. Look at it on the women's scale. It's almost like being raped. They steal eggs. We had a discussion about this last night. And it's people are upset by this stuff. They don't want to talk about it. But you have to have a time check. So at least you have a ballpark about what's going on. We all agreed at one point that if we were going to do something, we'd all do it together. But my buddy Al is like, I talked to, our friend, we were both friends with Rosemary Ellen Guiley, and Rosemary does some of that. So he was going to do it, because he wanted to know. And it was kind of like messed up that you would, lie to us that you wouldn't do it. I mean, but you're your own person. I personally talked to a couple other people, investigators, showed them the video. I said, what's your impression? They said, you were downloaded. And I said, okay. He goes, yeah, you were downloaded. Meaning I was abducted. I was given, taken information from me and given to me. And I said, well, we're talking about getting regressed. Do you think it's a good idea? And he goes, how do you sleep? I said, I sleep like shit. I do. He goes, no, no, do you have nightmares? I said, no, 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 no. When I go to sleep eventually, I just get up a lot. He goes, don't get regressed because you'll be opening a Pandora's box you cannot close. And so I've never gotten regressed. I probably have ET children someplace.
Well,
I've
speaking
never,
of
yeah, that would be cool.
right. Well, speaking of like time, Sam, you want to tell them our weird time story in New Mexico?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
No,
and I'm going to
this,
be an adult and smoke a cigarette if you don't mind.
no, that's fine.
Okay. I
But
don't normally do it, but I'm at I'm losing steam every few minutes. So, New Mexico, hit me.
Mhm.
I've never
Okay.
been. It's beautiful though.
It is. It's amazing. We were heading down there for their UFO festival that they do in Roswell.
Oh, okay. I know that one. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We were taking Vaughn, which Vaughn has always been interesting each year we have taken this route.
Okay.
So this was our first time going down Vaughn that we actually noticed something. And we were just like heading down there, and then it just like felt like we went through like a force field like the droids did in Star Wars, or like a bubble. Like I felt like something passed through us, and I like looked up and like looked around, and I was just like, oh, that was odd. And like thought nothing of it, and I was just like, oh, I felt something. And then like we were just like driving along. I was like watching a video on my phone and like kind of like looking around. And our buddy Matt in the passenger seat was just like, is it just me or is like time increasing? And like he was watching the miles like go down. Like we were like getting closer to the destination, but it was like going up by like 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes.
Really?
Yeah. And we
Okay.
were like,
I've heard of things like this, but yeah.
yeah, and like Keegan was just like, okay, so I'm not the only one that noticed it. And
I was so
Okay.
happy because I was like watching it,
too.
and I was like, what the
That happens a lot. Have you ever been in the forest and instantaneously just gets really quiet?
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, that's eerily weird. Okay. That usually means there's a predator in the area, and that most of there's a couple reasons. There's a predator in the area, and everything shuts down because it's like, I don't want to be killed. So even the crickets stop. But there are times when you go in the forest, or you go into situations, or in the case of New Mexico and that whole area there with portals, you go through a vortex, and unbeknownst to you, you're going through something, and everything stops. And most of the time, you lose time. You are gaining it. So there is, I think, a physics theory that there are certain vortexes or black holes where, it is the Einstein theory. If you go the speed of light and you're in that craft and you left it like right now, and you went 15 minutes the speed of light and came back, everybody on this planet would be like 90 years old. So there's a time difference in certain things. But I've heard of portals where time has increased and time decreases. If you want to play around with time, and you can do this with your consciousness and its intention. If you go from point A to B, let's say you go from your house to mom's house, and let's say it normally takes 20 minutes. Say to yourself, I'm doing this in 15 minutes. Or if it takes an hour, say, I'm doing it in 45 minutes. And keep trying that. And eventually you'll do it in 45 minutes. And you say, and then you can, and eventually you also do it in a half an hour. There are times when you can kind of play around with the time frame. You ever see that? I'll give you a hot for teacher video. They do it like, I don't feel tardy, and the clock is not getting to 3, but it feels like you've been there for 5 hours. That's a manipulation of time, but it's a manipulation, but eventually everything else registers and goes back to a certain point. You can play with time, but that is cool. So you gain time. So it would have been good, if you knew that was going to happen. I would love to do a bone density on both of you guys. Everybody in the car, and get an age test on you. Today, you guys do that. It speeds up, and see if those tests, and do it again and see if that shit changed. Like you've aged. You ever hear about the guy that was going from Bimini to, I think it was Miami Airport? He's flying a Cessna. There's a kid on it, and another guy. Normally it's an hour trip. So they take off from Bimini, which is the Bahamas. And while they were going up there, they said they saw what seemed like purple fog, like a swirl of it, storm. Then they're going through this, and they said everything's going crazy. Their altitude, all the meters are going nuts. There was a weird glow, and it lasted for about 5 minutes or 10 minutes. No, not that even long. And they finally flew out of it. And then when they flew out of it, they heard somebody talking on the radio. The radio wasn't working. None of that stuff was working. They go, Cessna, blah, 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 identify. And he's like, this is, they put his call letters out. And what's your flight plan? We don't have you listed. He goes, I'm going to be in Miami Airport in 45 minutes. They go, no, you're going to be in Miami Airport in like 5, where you're right there. So they went through this, technically a portal, and they jumped time. So it only took them 15 minutes basically to do it. That happens all over the place. I'm sure you got mystery hills in Colorado, and
oh yeah,
and not just like drug induced from the dispensary. Is like, what time is it, man? That helps. That's a totally different way of. We can talk about that later on too, another time. But yeah, these are cool things. I'd love to have you guys, on my show, but I always love to investigate with other people that are interested in it, and that would be cool. So, let us know if you get to Florida and if there's something going on. I'll bring you guys along.
I mean,
we play nice. So we're all good people. And of course, if you see any guests on my show that you want to talk to, if you haven't, let us know. Mark Getty is the co-host of my show 99% of the time. He's nuts, but he's fun. Yeah, and very smart. But yeah, I'm all about promote what you want. Let's go into the stuff, and I love it when like my guests last night had no idea what to expect. Actually, I had a lot of new people, and they were like, "I didn't know what to expect. But this was great. It was fun. This is the first show that it was fun," and I'm like, "That's perfect." She goes, "I loved it. It was really entertaining and enjoyable." I'm like, "That's what it should be,"
Yeah. When I wanted to do this, I mean, we kind of got more into it during COVID because you couldn't do nothing, but I really wanted to make it a series where it was just like a conversation, like whatever the guest was talking about. Even, sometimes we'll have people on that, I'm like, I don't agree with that, but let's hear about it. Like, I want to hear it and just learn about it. Like, I think that's important to hear both sides. But it's been great, that's
what it should be. It should be like, you guys are hanging out in the house or a bar or whatever you guys do, where you hang out and you tell your stories.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to do with my show. If I wanted to do a formal interview, I want to be doing it on YouTube. I want to, I wasn't modeling. Everybody's like, oh, well, it's kind of like Joe Rogan. Like, no, I'm not Joe Rogan. I just talk to people. I want to know from their own experience and their research, because it may gel with my research and answer like one of dozens of questions I have in that realm. So yeah, no, I mean, I thought this was great, and I'm not here. I'll tell you the same thing. I tell everybody, I am not here to convince you. I do not care if you believe or you don't believe. All I ask is you research. Don't just sit there and listen to someone's show and believe it, and don't get off your ass and do some research, and research it. And I do my best that when I present live, I present my stuff that I've actually captured instead of like, well, I'm debunking this video. I'm like, don't debunk it just yet. You weren't there. You don't know the conditions were there. like nobody else was in the car with you guys when you were losing time. You were gaining time but losing miles. It was like that is the most. That's odd. That whole it doesn't make sense like mathematically.
Well, and then
Mm-mm.
Sam, tell him what happened once we got a signal.
Oh yeah. So we made it to Lincoln, New Mexico,
Right.
and then, like we were going to stay at a Airbnb in Hondo,
Okay.
and Keegan gets a call from the owner of that Airbnb being like, "Hey, one of the caretakers just like died in the front lawn, so we're trying to get the body like removed." And we were just like, I mean, we're paranormal investigators. We'll still stay there. Like, it's fine.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, this is a fresh one. Get the gear, fellas. Like
we
you don't
actually
want to
did
say
do
you
a
don't want to
tough
say
knock.
that, but yeah, it's like, how do you feel now? I
Right.
just died. Leave me the fuck alone. You know.
Yeah, it was just
Yeah.
such a
That's not
weird
bad.
experience. That
It
whole
was a
thing.
weird
Yeah, I
experience.
mean, like, so our halfway point is Florence, South Carolina. If you're
Mhm.
driving back and forth, and I remember driving a couple of times. They put me in. I think it's 209, 209 and 409. It's a king size bed. It's whenever I'm by myself, so I don't have to share with anybody. I'm exhausted. It's a long trip up. I'm gonna get up early, so I go and I get my stuff. I go to bed, I shut the lights off, and I hear the fridge opening and closing, and I'm like, listen, I'm tired. I know you're here. Stop opening and closing the fridge. And it was totally haunted. You could feel the presence of something there. And it wanted to talk. It wanted my attention because I think it saw that I can communicate. And it was just like, catch me in the morning. When I wake up, you can talk to me. I'm going to be on the pot for a little bit. I got nothing else to do. Hit me up with whatever your questions are. So I told um, the 2 trips later, I was like, I want to book a room with the return. I said, but don't put me in, I think 209 or 409. Oh, no, no, why? She goes, why? I said, because that shit's haunted. And they were like, what? And they didn't know about it. And then I told them what I do, and they go, really? And the girl at the front desk, real sweetheart. I said, yeah, I'm a medium. I do remote viewing, but I can also see things. And I said, there's a guy standing there with gray hair and muscles like muscles and just staring me down. And I said, you have a gentleman that's hanging out right over your right shoulder. And I showed her what he would do like this. And he's just staring at me and he looks pretty mean, like stay away from her type of stuff. And I described him and she goes, oh my God, that's my dad. And I saw him there and he's just looking, protecting his daughter like a dad would. So I said, okay. And she didn't really believe. So I went outside and then he realized that I can see him. This is how it happens with a lot of times. So I'm outside smoking and he says, tell her to watch out for Michael. And I'm like, I have no idea who Michael is. Can you tell her to watch out for Michael? So after a cigarette, I said, he's there and he's not as mean anymore. And I said, may not. I said, I don't know who this is, but he told me to tell you to watch out for Michael. And she's like, well, I don't know anybody. And then she went, oh. So apparently it registered. And whenever I come in now, like a couple of years, every year, that I get there, she walks away. She doesn't want to talk to me. So I get it because that freaks people out, but
Right.
and I could read people all the time, but I spend a lot of time like blocking people. The only people I read constantly are my 2 kids and their friends. And my youngest is really good at what I do. But she has no filter, so I'm working with her. Like she told somebody one time, and I know the backstory on this guy. And he's talking about getting married to this girl, and she comes up, puts her arm around like this, and goes, you don't really want to put a ring on that. And I was like, I grabbed her. I'm like, you need to leave the room. And she's right, you know. So, but she just got back right now, but I appreciate you guys having me on. I gotta kind of go and freshen up for 3 hours of Dave Scott Spaced Out Radio.
All right. Well, before you go, for anyone
Yes, sir.
listening or watching, do you want to let them know where they can find more of your stuff?
Sure. You can find me in Facebook jail. Totally joking. I am on Facebook jail, and I'd love to hook up with you guys on Facebook as well. You can find me. My show is Third Eye Live, which I'm going to have both Sam and Keegan on, and bring in your other, the other partner too. We can have the more the merrier. And it's every Wednesday on YouTube from 8 p.m. Eastern to 10 p.m. And I do it through my own Facebook profile. So it's @ Bryan Bowden, BRYAN BOWDEN. Log in and sign into that. It goes to a playlist, and we have a lot of live guests. But my stuff is also, I'm a Bronx Paranormal site. I founded the New York State UFO Project, New York State Dogman Project, a bunch of different things. And I got sick and tired of doing all these different pages and stuff. So I just said, I'm doing one now, which sucks because we had like 3,000 here, like 1,000 here. And I really wish we had the ability to say, consolidation and consolidate it. So now I have like 10,000 people on my channel. They get it. And I get all the other content from the other thing, and they put it together. But that would be only smart thing to do, but YouTube won't do that. Right. And that's where you can find me. I do readings. So if you want, you can send a message to thirdeyeliveshow@gmail.com. If you want a reading, do private readings, do a lot of readings for people that are trying to kill themselves. Those are not no cost involved. And I do it by the hour, but you get a lot more. I don't stop. I'm trying to help people. So that's how I do it. And that's pretty much it. And if you check out Discovery Plus, you may see me on a couple of alien shows and cryptid shows that I've done. It sounds more impressive than it is because they don't pay you that much money. And the camera puts on a couple 100 pounds.
Yes, it does.
Yes, it does, doesn't it?
I've had some experience with the Travel Channel, so believe me, I understand that one.
Yeah, they're usually. I have them right now. They want some of my footage, and they think I'm stupid, and I'm not. So, but I am working on some development with something totally different, and hopefully, if it goes through, 1, 2, 3, I'm going to involve people that I talk to, and including you guys. I mean, I'm going to come out to Colorado, and we're going to do some stuff, and I'm getting everybody. I'm friends with a lot of those famous people, but I'm sick and tired of seeing their faces on it. I want other people coming on. It makes it fresher and newer, and it works.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
No, thank you again. This has been great. We'll definitely be doing it again in the future.
You got it. I blame Mark Eddy for all this, but thank you very much. And then, I'm going to try to get you guys. I'll send you some dates. And it's easier if we can hook up on Facebook. Just makes it easier to message quicker because I hate emails. And to be honest, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm looking at my email numbers. Oh, they don't even show it anymore. I have probably 600,000 emails that I have not read.
No, emails are difficult.
I swear to God.
It's a lot better.
Yeah, I'm done with email. It was good when it first started. Now it's just like there's no difference between email and that junk you get in your mailbox at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Buy a vacuum cleaner. I'm like, no, I don't want to.
If I wanted to, I'd go buy it myself.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, you're friends with Mark, so I probably can find you, right?
Yeah, you can. I'm on his friends list, so
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm Bryan. You can call me whatever you want. I'll answer to it. So don't worry about it. But I want you guys to check out VCam. Trust me. There's a free version of it too. It'll be a little bit like, say it on it, but test it out. And because this way Sam won't ghost himself, in the background. And then you can put whatever background you want in it. Yeah, like where did he go?
Where does it do it? There we go. It's just the hat.
There
now.
he goes. He's gone. Exactly.
The cryptid hat. Yeah, I love that one.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, thank you, Bryan. I will definitely be in contact for sure, and I'll let you know when this
Sure.
goes live. Would you be able to send me a picture I can use for the thumbnail of you?
Yeah. I'll send you some pictures, and like I do jokey photos of me. Like I put my face on Christopher Walken's, and as a joke, and someone used it as a promo, and I'm like, this is so bad. My father had a watch, and it's like, it's just, and then another one, like, I'm really like, it was when I was just like, I'm a big boy to begin with, but I kind of look like, speaking of Star Wars, the creator himself, George Lucas. And I'm like, dude, burn that image. I look like fucking George Lucas, fat ass. And no, not, I'm not going to be thinner, but I'm working on it, Gotta be able to run, like, Bigfoot's chasing you.
Right.
Yeah, I'll send you whatever you need. But I thank you guys again, Keenan and Sam. And
Yeah, thank you.
appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it
I have
coming
some
on.
other stuff I want to talk to you about that.
You tell me, and then you know what, we can kind of pick it up and then bring it back, and we will interview you how you guys got involved on mine, and then we can mix and match, and maybe we can do like a dual. I don't know if you have the audience on YouTube you want to stream directly to, but maybe we can just do that too. I'm not monetized, so
we're working on it, but YouTube keeps being like, nah. So,
yeah, I'm working on it too. If it happens, it happens. If not,
if not, we're having fun. That's
Yeah.
the biggest thing. As long as I have a good time, and we're spreading information. So
yeah, that's what I do, and I help people, and that's it.
Yeah.
I could talk about predictions, like there's going to be an earthquake again in Alaska.
About magnets, right? I saw you talking about magnets on, and guess where me and Sam work? A magnet
company.
You do?
Magnetics. Yep.
Oh, that's cool. You probably get stuck there. But yeah, the magnet's actually important.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. It must mess up with your phones and stuff where you have to put it in a safety, like a Faraday cage.
Not necessarily. I don't deal with a lot of the Neos that we deal with. Like they used to have crazy Neos. I TIG weld some of the magnets together.
Yeah, we used to play with some of the Neos, like someone had them, and like really heavy like poundage on it, and you would tape it like through Gorilla Tape on their clothes, whatever, and their shirt. And the next thing you know, they walk past something like, they're yeah, you can have fun with shit like that.
That's pretty funny.
It is funny. Yeah. So they're like, dude, cut it out. But
some of those get
you can get impaled by some of those magnets if you let them loose.
Oh yeah,
that would be a cool scene in a movie, though.
Final Destination,
yeah, something like that. But cool. I appreciate you guys, and I thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. You have a good rest of your night.
You too.